Today, we're attempting what Bugatti believes is impossible. $6 million, one crash, and a decision that ignited a war nobody anticipated. Not a conflict waged with weapons or legal teams, but a battle fought across YouTube videos, Instagram direct messages, factory boardrooms in France, and comment sections where millions suddenly developed passionate opinions about a demolished hypercar sitting in Miami. This is the story of a total Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport, one of only 60 ever manufactured. So rare, so intricately engineered, and so devastatingly expensive that a minor collision with the rear of a pickup truck generated damage estimates exceeding $1.7 million. The insurance company immediately declared it a total loss. Bugatti dispatched a technician from France, evaluated the wreckage, and delivered the same verdict. This vehicle is finished. Then they locked the VIN, severing access to every official component and every legitimate repair channel globally. For most people, that would conclude the story. But Matt Armstrong got involved, and the moment he did, this transcended a broken automobile. It became a full-scale confrontation between a YouTuber with tools and one of the world's most exclusive automotive manufacturers. A debate about true ownership once currency changes hands, about safety versus pride, passion against protocol, and the fundamental right to rebuild what someone else determined should remain broken. Every observer was forced to choose a position. Which side are you on? Because once this story concludes, that answer might prove far more complicated than you imagined. Before understanding this crash, you need to understand Matt Armstrong. His YouTube channel wasn't built on unboxing videos or track day footage. He constructed his audience by accomplishing what the automotive world insisted couldn't or shouldn't be done. Armstrong purchases wrecked vehicles. Cars insurance companies have abandoned vehicles dealerships refuse to touch, machines most mechanics would reject immediately. Then he restores them, not superficially, not cosmetically for quick profit, but properly, documenting every single step on camera before returning them to the road. 5 years ago, Armstrong bought his first severely damaged car and attempted its resurrection. Over time, his channel became a destination where impossibility felt routine. BMWs folded nearly in half, Lamborghinis with obliterated front ends, vehicles arriving in pieces on flatbed trucks that eventually departed under their own power. His audience didn't simply grow. It became fiercely devoted because Armstrong wasn't selling content alone. He was selling proof. Proof that with sufficient skill, adequate patience, and absolute refusal to surrender, almost anything could be revived. That message resonated powerfully, and millions embraced it completely. So when rumors circulated to the automotive community that a Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport, among the rarest production cars on Earth, had been totaled and was sitting at Copart auction with a salvage title, Armstrong didn't see catastrophe. He saw the ultimate validation of everything his channel represented. He saw an opportunity to accomplish something unprecedented. What he didn't fully anticipate was exactly how aggressively Bugatti would resist. The Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport isn't merely expensive. It's extraordinary in ways difficult to communicate without careful consideration. Bugatti produced exactly 60 examples. Not 60,000, not 600, but 60 vehicles total worldwide. When new, each commanded approximately $3.6 million. In collector markets, where scarcity drives value exponentially, estimates for the Pur Sport have climbed considerably higher. Beneath bodywork constructed almost entirely from carbon fiber, sit a quad turbocharged W16 engine producing 1,500 horsepower. The transmission is a 7-speed dual clutch unit. The suspension, aerodynamics, braking systems, every element was engineered to operate at the absolute frontier of what's physically achievable in a street-legal automobile. But here's what makes the Chiron genuinely unlike nearly any other vehicle. The monocoque, that central safety cell, the structural spine of the car. In the Chiron, it's constructed from carbon fiber reinforced polymer. It isn't bolted together from stamped metal panels. It's woven, cured, and tested as a single integrated unit, engineered to meet the strictest safety certifications globally. Why does this matter? Because when the Pur Sport owned by Florida influencer Alex Gonzalez struck a small truck at what should have been survivable speed, the monocoque chassis sustained damage. In carbon fiber monocoques, even hairline fractures invisible without specialist equipment constitute structural failure. You don't patch carbon fiber like metal. You don't weld it. You either replace it or you're having an entirely different conversation. The full damage extent was staggering. The entire front end was destroyed, carbon fiber panels shattered across the impact zone, both headlights gone. The signature horseshoe grille, defining Bugatti's front fascia, was obliterated. Airbags had deployed. Structural components ahead of the windshield were severely compromised. When initial inspection concluded, concerns about the monocoque were serious enough to question the vehicle's entire future. The parts estimate alone returned at $1.7 million. Not labor, not specialist tooling, not shipping to France and back. Just components. $1.7 million. The insurance company performed the mathematics and made the only rational decision. The car was declared total loss, assigned a salvage title, and sent to Copart, the same salvage auction featuring wrecked Honda Civics and flood-damaged pickup trucks, except this one cost $3.6 million new and represented one of 60 examples of one of Earth's rarest automobiles. For enthusiasts watching remotely, it felt like witnessing a piece of automotive history dissolve in real time. Bugatti didn't allow this to unfold quietly. Before the car reached auction, before Matt Armstrong entered the picture, Bugatti dispatched a factory technician from Motium, their French headquarters where every Chiron is hand-built, to personally inspect the wreckage. This wasn't courtesy. This was Bugatti sending an expert to evaluate and make formal determination. The conclusion was exactly what most feared. The damage was severe, the car's structural integrity compromised, and in Bugatti's professional judgment, repairing this vehicle outside factory, control conditions was unsafe. That conclusion carried consequences. Shortly after inspection, Bugatti locked the car's VIN in their internal system. In practical terms, this was devastating. No authorized Bugatti dealer, no certified service center, no official parts supplier anywhere globally could sell genuine components for the specific vehicle. The Pur Sport had been blacklisted. Some might feel Bugatti overstepped. The insurance company had paid out. The car had changed hands, and the new owner should be free to do what they want with their property, shouldn't they? That's legitimate, and we'll explore it properly. But first, understand Bugatti's perspective. This isn't unprecedented in the hypercar world. When a manufacturer builds a vehicle capable of 260 miles per hour, when they've engineered every component to work in perfect concert under extreme conditions, they maintain a very different perspective on what safe to drive means than a regular body shop does. A poorly repaired Bugatti isn't just risk to its owner, it's potential catastrophe. Even if Bugatti no longer owns that car, even if they never see it again, their name is on the badge. When something fails catastrophically at high speed, the world doesn't ask who repaired it. The world asks who built it. That's the weight Bugatti carries, and it's the weight behind their VIN-lock decision. Word traveled fast through the supercar community, reaching Matt Armstrong almost immediately. Armstrong heard about the crash early, understood what was at stake, and made a decision. He flew to Miami to see the car personally before it could disappear. There's a small detail from that trip Armstrong mentioned on camera, almost throwaway but quietly fitting. One of his team was involved in a minor traffic accident en route. Even reaching the wrecked Bugatti came with complications. When Armstrong finally stood before the Pur Sport, he wasn't intimidated by the damage. He'd seen worse. He'd rebuilt worse, at least regarding initial visual impact. Crumpled metal had never stopped him before. What stopped him was Bugatti's VIN-lock. In his own words, he was shocked by how far the manufacturer was willing to go. He described it as a complete dead end. Without genuine parts, there was no conventional path forward. That left exactly one official option. Ship the car back to Bugatti's factory in Motium, France, and let them handle the rebuild under their supervision with their parts to their standards. The cost of that option, based on discussions, was rumored to approach the cost of simply purchasing another Chiron, potentially in the range of the car's original purchase price. For owner Alex Gonzalez, that wasn't just expensive, it felt wrong. Hand over a car you own to a factory in another country with no firm timeline, no process transparency, and no guarantee about the final bill once they had the car disassembled. That's a leap of faith that would make most people uncomfortable regardless of price. But the car wasn't going anywhere without a decision, and the decision couldn't wait forever. Alex Gonzalez reached his limit, and when he did, He went to Instagram. He posted an ultimatum, a 24-hour window for Bugatti to unblacklist a car and engage meaningfully, or he'll begin three-dimensional printing the parts himself. Depending on your background, your reaction to that threat probably fell into one of two camps. Either you saw it as a bold, righteous stand against corporate overreach over private property, or you saw it as a dangerous bluff that risked trivializing the serious engineering complexity of a hypercar. Either way, it worked. The post spread rapidly. It hit automotive forums, social media threads, YouTube, and eventually mainstream platforms. The narrative was irresistible. An owner of one of the world's most exclusive cars, locked out by the company that built it, threatening to improvise around their refusal. It was David and Goliath, except David was threatening to manufacture his own sling. The response came from somewhere nobody quite expected. Matt Rimac, the CEO of Bugatti Rimac, reached out personally, not through legal teams or PR departments, through direct messages. Rimac saw the post, pushed for calmer conversation, opened a direct line, and within a short time, it emerged that Bugatti was actually willing to unblacklist the car and discuss a proper path forward. Serious talks began behind the scenes, and those talks produced two very different numbers. The first offer discussed was around $1.7 million for a factory rebuild, the same figure as the original parts estimate roughly. That number, while defensible given the work complexity, was always going to be a difficult sell. Then a second number came. Bugatti returned with a revised offer in the range of $600,000 to $700,000. Factory work, factory parts, Bugatti standing fully behind the result, certifying the car, restoring its history. By almost any measure, that was a serious offer. $600,000 to rebuild a car worth potentially 3 times that, with the manufacturer handling everything and standing behind the work. Alex still said no. Why? Because the issue had shifted. This wasn't purely about money anymore. Alex didn't want to hand over the car with no transparency, no timeline, and no certainty about what would happen next. Matt Armstrong voiced the same concern on camera. When something looks too good to be true, it often comes with strings you don't see until too late. And both of them noticed something else. The dramatic shift from $1.7 million to $600,000 or $700,000 told its own story. It suggested that Bugatti wanted this car back badly enough to move significantly on price. And that raised a question neither could fully answer. What was in it for Bugatti? Was this generosity or was it control? That question hung over everything that followed. Alex Gonzalez handed the car to Matt Armstrong with a simple mission statement. Try to fix it outside Bugatti's system. Armstrong accepted, fully aware of what he was walking into. No factory support, no official parts channels, an audience of millions watching every move, and a car that, by his own assessment, should never have been attempted outside a controlled factory environment. The early rebuild videos were instructive, not just for what they showed being fixed, but for what they revealed was actually broken. As Armstrong's team stripped the damaged front end and began assessing the full extent of damage, they found problems that went significantly deeper than visual destruction. What had initially appeared to be a small crack in the gearbox housing turned out to be something far more serious. Major structural damage with genuine tears in the transmission mounts. These weren't cosmetic issues. These were the kind of failures that require factory-grade equipment, specialist jigs, and a level of access that doesn't exist in an independent workshop, no matter how well equipped. Each new layer of the rebuild uncovered another argument for the factory option. Each new discovery reinforced exactly what Bugatti's technician had told them in the beginning. But Armstrong kept going. He started digging into part numbers, hunting through secondary channels, looking for any angle that might yield a legitimate component. And in one moment that gave his viewers genuine hope and later generated significant controversy, he found something interesting. Certain components in the Chiron, including specific airbag modules, share part numbers with far more accessible vehicles. Armstrong noted that some matched items found in the Audi A3. If you're watching from a practical standpoint, that sounds like a breakthrough. If the part number matches and it physically fits, doesn't that solve at least some problem? That's exactly the logic Armstrong supporters ran with. And it's also exactly the logic that Matt Rimac would later push back on publicly and hard. as the rebuild videos racked up millions of views, one update passing 6 million in just days. It became clear that Bugatti could no longer treat this as a private matter. The story was too public, the narrative too loaded, and the misinformation, in Bugatti's view, was spreading too fast. In January 2026, mate Rimac released a video statement. The tone was measured and calm. This wasn't a corporate attack. It wasn't a legal warning dressed as a press release. Rimac framed it deliberately as a myth-busting exercise, addressing what he called widespread inaccuracies that had taken hold online about Bugatti's repair costs and service practices. He started with headlights. Online, the viral figure being circulated was 150,000 euros for a pair of Chiron headlights. Rimac confirmed the actual number was 50,000 euros, 25,000 per unit. Still extraordinary by any normal standard, but meaningfully different from the exaggerated claim that had been driving outrage. This matters because the public debate had been partly fueled by numbers that weren't accurate. And when the numbers are wrong, the anger built on them is built on a false foundation. Rimac's point was subtle but pointed. Some of what was driving public sympathy for the rebuild was based on figures Bugatti hadn't actually quoted, but the headlines were a warm-up. The real substance of Rimac's statement came when he addressed the airbag issue directly. He acknowledged that Armstrong's team had noticed a part number crossover with Audi components. And then he explained in very precise terms why that crossover was not a solution. A part that physically fits is not the same as a part that performs correctly in the specific context it's deployed into. Bugatti's engineers, Rimac explained, had discovered during development and testing that factors unique to the Chiron's crash dynamics, weight distribution, impact geometry, and sensor calibration affected how airbag systems needed to deploy. Small differences, invisible to most rebuilders, invisible even to sophisticated mechanics without access to Bugatti's internal test data, were engineered specifically to protect occupants during a high-speed crash event. Using a matched Audi module in a Chiron didn't give you a Chiron airbag system. It gave you an Audi airbag system in a car that crashes, absorbs impact, and protects its occupants very differently from an Audi. And if that system misdeployed or failed to deploy in the right circumstances, someone could die. That wasn't hypothetical. That was what Bugatti's testing had found. Replacing an Audi part behind Bugatti leather and calling it repaired wasn't a creative solution. It was dangerous. And then he said something that framed the whole controversy differently. He made it clear directly and on camera that none of this was personal. He said he had genuine respect for Matt Armstrong, that he followed his work, that he thought Armstrong was talented. But talent, he argued, wasn't the issue. The issue was the nature of the specific damage his car had sustained and the impossibility of repairing it responsibly without factory resources and factory knowledge. No disrespect to Matt Armstrong, Rimac said, I think he's doing amazing things. He's a great guy, but we just don't think it's safe. He closed by confirming that Bugatti's factory rebuild offer remained open. If the Pur Sport came back to Motium, they would still repair it properly, stand behind the result, and restore the car to its full specification and value. The ball was still in Alex Gonzalez's court. Here's where the story stops being about a specific car and starts being about something much larger. The tension between Matt Armstrong and Bugatti is really a tension between two principles that both sound completely reasonable until they directly conflict with each other. On Armstrong's side sits the right to repair. The idea that when you pay for something, especially something as significant as a multi-million-dollar automobile, you own it completely. You don't own it subject to the manufacturer's approval. You don't own it with conditions attached. You own it full stop. And that ownership should include the right to fix it, modify it, rebuild it, or take it apart on your driveway if that's what you feel like doing. That principle isn't just popular among car enthusiasts. It's the subject of real legislative battles in multiple countries. Consumers, independent mechanics, and right-to-repair advocates have been